Hello everybody. So this video is entitled Wild Day for High Beta Stocks. High beta stocks are dropping, aside of course from anything related to Bitcoin and crypto. And if you just follow the index, you wouldn't know that because the index barely moved. I mean, yeah, we ended up down 0.7% on the Nasdaq, 0.3. If you just looked at the index, you would not know that. But within the index, we still have the wildest moves. It's just that these wildest moves are not measured on what is being reported in the mainstream media, right? For the mainstream media, nothing happened today in the stock market. If you look at individual stocks, we still have reactions that are, quite insane for the news. So, for example, HIMS House noting a 700 million drop in market cap. Actually, is probably closer to 800 million at one point today. HIMS dropping 10% out of, frankly, recycled news from 3 days ago. So 3 days ago, we had a news saying that HIMS was in probation period because they had something like a few hundred returns or chargebacks, or I don't know, but they turn the news as if it is something ultra negative, while it's actually not, because the consequence of this news would be an extra charge of $75,000. But that's enough. The recycling of the negative news on X, on the media, the recycling of that news is enough to drop the stock 10%, nearly 800 million. HIMS continues to be the punching bag of the market. It continues to be cheap no matter what at 0.11. This stock is just up 10%, down 10%, up 10%, down 10%. It keeps oscillating. It's a trader's paradise, but the traders probably don't help with these moves. But nonetheless, a high beta stock and a high beta stock down 10% today on essentially no news on a day where the indices are, slightly down, roughly flat, really not much. If you look at the Neoclouds, this is where the market starts making even less sense. So I made my video yesterday about NBIS and IREN and why I think NVIDIA raising prices is actually very much bullish. It means the demand is inelastic. The hyperscalers will pay what needs to be paid to get access to AI. That's at least how I interpret the news of NVIDIA raising prices by 17%. Well, you wouldn't see that in the stock. The stock of NBIS, for example, opens in sheer panic in the morning, down 7.5%, then it recouped towards the end of the day. IREN dropping a little more than NBIS today, but nonetheless, these two keep dropping, and I still think IREN relatively is still cheaper. This is true also for the colocation plays. It's particularly weird for Cypher, because Cypher, you had a big analyst come out with a price target of like $45 or something like that, and that didn't move the stock. So the market seems to be ignoring high beta like HIMS. The market seems to be ignoring Neocloud, which were the darling of the past, was it 7 months, 8 months? So the darling of the past 8 months, it seems to be forgetting. But what else is the market forgetting? Well, the market is forgetting AI altogether today. We have NVIDIA selling off on bullish news on a price hike of 17%. I don't understand. And NVIDIA was down more in the middle of the day. We have Tesla selling off on the loss of an engineer, AI engineer, somebody who was working on the fab or something like that. Anyways, this is nothing burger. Tesla has lost plenty of engineers, and the stock for some reason always goes down on that type of news. And that entirely canceled the hope of the September free event. There's a September free event on Cybercab. Everybody was excited about it the entire weekend, but that was a conversation of the entire weekend. But the market has decided to dump today. And so Tesla was down nearly 4%. And that's the same for any innovative stock, whether it's Micron, SK Hynix was down too. Anything related to memory or HBM or NVIDIA suppliers, they're all down. It's all down. It's just one of these days where the market keeps acting like a casino. I want the volatility to come down. The volatility is not coming down. I also want to point out, for example, a stock that did a new share issuance to finance their growth, to finance their optics. This is in the optics space. This one was a darling of Wall Street a few months ago. down nearly 14% today, nearly back to the July low, not quite. This might be worth an analysis, although I can tell you just looking quickly at Applied Optoelectronics, I still find it a little expensive. Now you have a stock, you have EOSE. Very tough to analyze this one, at least in the way I analyze stocks. There's a lot of execution risk in this one. But nonetheless, it trades risk on, risk off. This stock is down 10%, up 10%, down 10%. It's down 9%. Last Friday it was up nearly 10% or something like that. So and of course EOS Energy is a battery company, very big in AI, all about AI with this play and a lot of battery plays. So we see a general sell-off. We see a general drop in a lot of the beta. And why is that? Well, perhaps because people are rotating to Bitcoin and to crypto. People have realized that they may have been underweight. And I'm only going to talk about Bitcoin and strategy for the sake of time here. But Solana is doing very well. Hyperliquid is doing outstandingly well. My Hyperliquid video from 3 days ago, least viewed video on the channel in the past 2 or 3 years. And the stock was up for 40%. The asset was up 40%. The stock was up like 45%. Nobody cares about Hyperliquid. Well, perhaps that's changing a little bit. Perhaps Solana, Hyperliquid, even Ethereum to a lesser extent, getting their shine, getting more and more popular as Bitcoin is firmly in extreme greed. This is the second day that Bitcoin is in extreme greed. Bitcoin hit $80,000 today. Bitcoin was at $80,000 today. Then it just took a little breather towards the end of the day. But to me, that's not the bigger news. I think Bitcoin is due for a pullback. I think it ran too hard, too fast, although that's the nature of the markets today. Everything runs too hard, too fast. You don't have time to build a position. It's as though if you want to build a position today, DCA is even tough to look at because you may DCA and your stock is up 45% or 30% or 20%. So even DCA, one barely has time to do that for so many of the stocks I cover in the channel. But when I look at Bitcoin, to me, Bitcoin is overbought right now. The greed is not making me feel very good about how quickly it moved. But we have to admit that Saylor is doing some wonders here. I don't know if Saylor found the sweet spot, but the whole 0% leverage on strategy playbook, the whole we raised enough cash that we could pay off our debt right away if we wanted to playbook that he announced this morning seems to have an effect because STRC is up 1.14% in one day. This is huge for STRC. It's only been up, 0.3, 0.2, 0.4% the prior days. This time STRC is really responding positively to the increase in the cash reserve. So Saylor may have found the sweet spot here. Kudos to him, and that increase in the STRC is actually due to Saylor's doing of increasing the cash reserve, not necessarily due to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is roughly flat over the weekend. Bitcoin's value hasn't really changed too much over the weekend. To me, it's the actions of MSTR here that had an impact. So that's really reassuring to see, kind of a follow-up on my morning video here. So anyways, are we seeing some sort of a sell-off in a lot of high beta names to move into AI names? I could have put Strive here. Strive doing very, very well too. Well, it seems like it's a little bit of that. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. We have a very busy macro week. I expect a lot of chatter and a lot of fear around macro this week. So to me, what I do is I'm waiting for deals. To add to any position at the moment. Anyways, this was not financial advice. This is not investment advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.